Pretend they're not even here.
Act natural, Nichole.
Act natural.
Alrighty. That was a good second clap.
I
like
had to,
that.
I had
Yeah,
to.
I like that. Make it nice. All right. Hello, people of the world. We're back with another Sam Sessions. We're here in the Acoustic A Room of South Austin Music. You got the world's worst interviewer right here, and to my left, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nichole Wagner today.
Hello.
How you doing today, Nichole?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just been, back here for most of the day preparing for it, so hopefully I have some good questions for you. I have high hopes, that's for sure. So how long have you been in Austin?
Oh, 12 years now?
12.
Yeah.
And about how many years would you say you're in Austin before you walked into the door here at South Austin Music?
It's a good question. Say maybe a year?
About a year.
The first year I was kind of bouncing around quite a bit and didn't really have any sort of, I didn't know where anything was.
Right,
It was
yeah.
house sitting and I didn't intentionally move to Austin.
Uh-huh.
It was sort of just to avoid jury duty.
No kidding?
Yeah, sort of. I came out because it snowed like 4 feet in Colorado and I just got tired of the snow.
Oh, yeah.
Stayed with some friends on their couch, started house sitting, didn't have any reason to go back to Colorado, so I just didn't. And it kept putting off my jury duty. I can't come, I'm not in town. And then finally they sent me a letter that was like, you have to come. You can't put it off anymore.
Wow.
Like, you already used all of your extensions. And I was like, but Old Settlers is this weekend, so no. And
Not
so,
missing it for anything.
No, so my mom faxed me my birth certificate and I took it to the DMV. And I got a Texas driver's license and I came home and faxed it to the judge in Colorado and said, well, anyway.
Don't live there anymore.
Guess I don't need to come to jury duty.
That's crazy. So you're just
I became a Texan.
Super resourceful about not doing it, huh?
I have done jury duty since then. I'm
not
trying to get away from my civic duty. It's super important. The jury duty is super important. But that's kind of what led me to officially moving to Texas.
So you came to Austin, Texas from Colorado, but you spent some time in Arizona going to college, right?
So, Arizona State.
Arizona State. So did you go from there back to Colorado for a little bit before
Yeah.
you moved out here? Okay, I gotcha. And I know that what you studied in college was journalism, right?
Correct.
Even though kind of like your passion for music started at a pretty early age, right?
Yeah. I grew up going to concerts. My parents took me to everything, lots of festivals, all the bluegrass festivals in Colorado.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a really cool thing, but there wasn't structure to learn music where we lived. Like, there weren't people who were playing music other than on big stages.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the connection of how you go from enjoying music and singing in your bedroom to getting to play music.
Yeah.
Unless you were either, magically scooped up by some other force or
without a lot of luck, there's a bunch of steps
exactly
missing. Yeah.
And the only other people I knew who played music did it through the church, which wasn't a huge part of our lives. So it's well, I guess there's no way to do this. I just was well, the best way I can be part of the music scene is through journalism.
Yeah, I was curious. So, you studied journalism and you came out here and you're kind of, doing photography and writing articles about the music scene out here, right? Were you doing that purely just to be as close to the music scene as possible, or were you kind of secretly hoping that by being so involved you might get on stage yourself one day?
It was really just to be part of the scene and to contribute in the way I knew how.
Right.
I knew I was good at taking pictures. I knew that was something that I loved doing, and that when you do that, you get to go to the shows, you get to get in the photo pits, you're up close, you don't have to stand for hours and hours waiting for that one spot. And
it's almost like a backstage pass.
Sort of, but also just you get to be part of something, because there's so many different ways to be in a scene. You can't all be on stage.
Right.
You have to have fans. You have to have people who are enjoying it. You have to have people who are supporting it through getting the word out,
advertising
all of the
it.
things.
Yeah.
So it was really just a way to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. So that was like your initial goal when you got into journalism, was to
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of try and follow the music scene as much as possible. Yeah, it's interesting. So I know that, we talked about it a little bit already, but you had a passion at an early age. You know how old you were when you first started writing song lyrics?
I mean, bad song lyrics. As soon as I could
I was
talk,
watching
really.
a lot of TV probably at the age that you're writing song lyrics, so bad or good doesn't matter. At least you're.
I had one of those like Fisher-Price things with the
Mhm.
microphone and the cassette tape, and there's just piles of cassette tapes of me making up songs from.
No kidding.
As soon as I could talk.
Wow.
So not good songs.
Yeah, still putting in the
topical
effort,
for the age.
Yeah. I bet your parents just loved hearing you sing around the house all the time.
Sure.
So you never really picked up an instrument. When did you first pick up the guitar and start playing that?
When I graduated high school, my graduation present to myself was a like $60 Galveston guitar from a pawn shop.
No kidding.
Mistake. That was hard to play.
Yeah.
But I started teaching myself how to play guitar there through college. And then when I got out here, it felt weird and I didn't quite know where I was going to fit in. So I focused purely on photo and sort of let the music side slip and didn't play for almost 6 years.
Yeah. I wonder if like kind of putting the music dream on hold and like going to college to study journalism, did you have like a sense of need to like kind of like pursue like a real career, whereas like the music can kind of be like hit or miss for some people?
I mean, what's a real career anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that it matters.
But it's kind of like the traditional path, right? To like go to college and like, get a degree in something that's like a guaranteed career. Whereas music, it's like...
Journalism is a guaranteed career?
I guess not.
No.
But like for example, I'm pretty sure my dad would be really happy if I was like in like going to school for business.
Right.
Rather than just being like, no, I think I want to entertain people somehow. like it's not very like traditional, but like... So I wonder if like there was any motivation for you to go to college for that, because you were like, oh well, this seems like a little bit more, and then eventually you're just like, screw it, I'm gonna try it anyway.
I don't know that was necessarily the driving force between you know going to college and choosing to do something else.
Yeah.
It was just kind of the thing you did.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that there was like another option,
right,
outside of kind of just following these are the steps that you take. You finish, you graduate high school, and then you go to college, and you graduate college, and you get a job of some sort, and you do the thing. I had always done a lot of different things. So freelancing and web development and coding and that kind of stuff, and that gave me a lot of options, it felt like.
Yeah. Especially
when I got out of journalism school and realized that it was a bad year to graduate as a baby journalist.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty ignorant on all of that. What made it so tough at that time?
A lot of papers started folding. It was like the height of the financial crisis.
Oh, okay.
Like 2007, 8.
Right. I remember that.
So everything kind of crashed, and then there just weren't opportunities. So I started my own thing that brought me through music. It was Uncommon Music. So it was like my music magazine publication that I did.
Oh, interesting.
And then I freelanced and did a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
Because none of those things on their own would have paid the bills.
So your first guitar was the $60 Galveston, right? Was it again, forgive me for this, is that like a brand, Galveston, or did you get it in Galveston?
It's a brand, I suppose. Okay. I've never seen another Galveston.
Thank God.
It fell apart fairly quickly. Okay. It did not make it out of college for me.
So I guess sometimes I'll ask a musician like, what was, your first guitar that you got? But maybe it'd be good to be like, what was like the first guitar that you got that you like really cared about, you're really excited to have?
Yeah. It was actually a Taylor 510 that I got here. And I'd come in not looking for another guitar, figuring that I already had a guitar. It was a good guitar. I'd gotten a Taylor after the Galveston fell apart. My dad offered basically, like, if you keep with this and keep playing music after X number of years, I'll help you get a nicer guitar. So I got a Taylor and came in for something, I don't remember what. Saw this Taylor 510, picked it up, played it, put it back down. And then, like, out of the corner of my eye, as I was doing whatever I came in to do, saw some other kid pick it up. And, like, immediately felt tension in my body.
Oh, wow.
I was like, why is that kid playing my guitar? Might have circled him a little bit and been like, just a hawk over that guitar till he put it down.
I think there's a giant hole in the back. You just can't see it. Like, maybe like tried to like steer him away
something,
from it.
yeah. And then just picked it up and took it to the counter and was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this, but, like, I guess.
Layaway program.
Exactly.
20% down.
Exactly. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Does getting a new guitar, does that ever like kind of like motivate you to make more music?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you bring it home and you want to play it. And
classic, yeah.
You think about things in a different way and things sound even a little bit different, so you start thinking about what it might do and where it will take you musically.
Yeah.
Plus, I like old guitars that have stories, and you kind of think about where it had been before and like what other songs it's played.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of times people come back here in this room and they're like looking at all the guitars. They're like, oh, there's so many stories on every single one of these guitars. That's always
cliche, but
it is, but it's also like the most interesting part of this room to me. Is how people like see a guitar and they're like, I wonder how many stories there are behind it. You know.
Yeah.
So your first album, "And the Sky Caught Fire."
Mm-hmm.
When you released that, were you nervous to like? Did you have a lot of nerves for the release of your first album?
I don't know about nerves, but I definitely had unrealistic hopes and dreams.
Right.
Doesn't everybody though? Like,
every morning I wake up. Every single day I wake up, yeah.
I didn't know what it meant to put out a record, and I still don't know that I know what it means, but here we are.
Did it get like kind of easier as you release more and more music, or is the challenge still there every time?
It's just different challenges, different things you think about, different things, you've learned some things from the first one and subsequent projects. You try to apply all those things that you've learned, and sometimes you forget one of them and you're like, that thing again.
Yeah.
But that's really kind of all it can be. It's just a learning process.
Yeah. I was listening to the album, and I think it's pretty safe to say that you're kind of like a deep thinker writer, right?
We'll go with that.
Well, how would you say it's fair to classify it? Because to me, it seems like there's a lot of like, it doesn't like throw it in your face like maybe the theme of the song, but there's a little bit of like interpretation to it.
I tend to spend a lot of time in thought and a lot of time thinking about just all of the different ways something could go.
Right.
When I'm writing a song, I usually, even if it's totally about me or somebody I know, I try to pull myself out of that and think about like, who is the narrator of this song? Who are they speaking to? What are they trying to impart? And what do I want the listener to feel after they've heard the song? So sometimes that makes you kind of take a different path and go around instead of just saying something super directly.
Yeah. Where did the name "In the Sky Caught Fire" come from? It's
one of the last lines from the opening song, Winner Take All.
And
it's that particular song was super autobiographical, and I remember sitting on a porch with somebody I was breaking up with, and we were in those kind of like last discussions of this is going to be over, this isn't working.
Yeah. And
the sun was setting, and just sometimes you get those sunsets that have just every color and they're gorgeous. And it was this weird moment where even though we were crying and in the middle of this breakup, we both kind of had to stop and be like, but look at that. Look at the sunset.
Kind of like a last moment shared.
Sort of, yeah. It felt poignant.
Yeah. Winner Takes All. It's funny you already brought that up because I was going to ask you about that song. You said it's kind of pretty much autobiographical. Biographical? How do you say that word?
Autobiographical.
Autobiographical.
Good job.
Yeah, okay, cool.
That song is pretty much just describing those few minutes as the sunset. Knowing that, the relationship was over, down to kind of those last things you do in a relationship, or when you've known somebody for a long time and you've shared all this history. And like, he went to roll a cigarette, and there's just that moment of like kind of ridiculousness. So I'd give him, kind of give him crap every time he lit up, and like, he knows going to kill you. Yeah. And it just, all of it kind of played out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I get a lot of crap if I ever smoke a cigarette. They're not good. They're not good. We should make that a PSA since we're already there, you know. Stay away from cigarettes. So your new project, it's a record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Called Plastic Flowers.
Yeah.
What's the time period between the first one you released? I know there's a couple or at least one in between, but the time period
Mm-hmm.
between the first one you released and Plastic Flowers.
So, And the Sky Caught Fire came out in 2018, I think.
Right.
So like what filled that time, or like I don't.
It's just how long? So it's like 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah. It'll probably be 4 years by the time it's all said and done.
Okay, so you've been writing and releasing music for 4 years. Do you feel like you're kind of like comfortable in your situation now, or do you think that like no matter how long you're recording and releasing music, you'll never feel like so to speak a veteran in the game? Like, do you think you'll ever get to the point where you're like, oh, I've been doing this forever?
I mean, I would like to think that there will be a time where it feels just like the most obvious thing and the most natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel unnatural. It's more just that there's still a magic to it.
Yeah.
And I hope that part never goes away.
Absolutely.
You know, you write a song and your dogs hear it and they don't care. Like, they just, whatever. And, you know, you share it to your friends and that's cool, you know, especially like when your songwriter friends are like, yeah, that's a good song.
Mm-hmm.
And you can play it for like your folks or like people at shows, and sometimes people will say something, sometimes they won't, and you never quite know how it's going to come together as a fully produced song, and then like what that's going to do and where it's going to go after it's like out in the world.
Yeah.
And that magic's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the writing process kind of been like for Plastic? Are you sitting down every day and writing, or is it whenever you get the urge?
I am a traditionally super slow songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
The year that the first record came out and the subsequent 2 years, I was writing like exactly one song a year.
Yeah. Does that come from being a perfectionist, or just like having to have the like something happen that you're like, okay, I'm gonna write about this?
It's more about being a perfectionist.
Right.
You know, because I was scribbling down like lines or things that sounded like they might go into a song later, or just ideas. Mm-hmm. So I have this huge folder in my inbox of just like, you know, here's a line and here's an idea of music and here's a word that sounded really cool when I heard it. Mm-hmm. And so the past 2 years with the pandemic and kind of having more time, I've been sitting down and just pulling ideas and saying like, okay, here's something that feels cool to play, kind of sounds like this, I want to start here, so just digging through that box, and here's a line, okay, what either can I piece together from this kind of box of parts to make a song, mm-hmm. or what can I fill in, what do I need to fill in, what speaks to whatever I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, so when it comes to releasing music, it seems like you believe in quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
You'd rather have like 5 amazing songs than 50 that are just
There's pros and cons to each, I guess. Mm-hmm. I think I start songs and then don't finish them if I feel like I don't have faith in that song. Mm-hmm. Just put it back in the parts bin and come back to it later.
Yeah.
I try not to finish things just for the sake of finishing them and letting them sort of develop. And, you know, once you start something, it's kind of running in the back of your head for however long. Sometimes you'll be like walking or doing the dishes or doing something totally unrelated, and you'll have an idea and you're like, that's that part that goes in this piece. And you sit down and put them together, and now you're done. But that could have been hanging out for 6 years.
Yeah, so how long would you say you've been working on Plastic Flowers? Or maybe how long will it have been by the time you're like comfortable with releasing it?
We started recording last year.
Uh-huh.
We recorded 2 songs, Monsters and Raised by Wolves. And at the time, we didn't know we were making a record. It was just like, let's get 2 songs done and have just something. And then as I started writing more and really kind of finishing songs, whereas I hadn't been finishing songs for the 2 years prior, it became pretty clear that, no, there's actually a record here.
Yeah.
And something that fits together thematically, and says something that I didn't say on the first record either.
Right. Would it be pushing it too much to ask like what maybe kind of underlying theme you're going for? Or is that giving too much away too early?
No, I've talked about it quite a bit, I think, in just general life, but really setting boundaries and making sure that you take the space for yourself. Yeah, so one of the things that happened really early on in the pandemic, for me personally, was to remove people from my life that were not providing
positive energy.
Yeah. People who, mostly people in my life who struggle with substance abuse, and that I was sort of in a codependent relationship with and feeding into their thing, and it was bad news all the way around.
Toxic, yeah.
So kind of giving myself the permission to not engage with those people opened up a lot of kind of feelings and things to unpack in song that I didn't feel like I had the ability to do prior.
Yeah, it seems with most musicians, like the most effective way of working through their emotions is pretty much making music out of it, right? Has that been a way that you've dealt with your emotions? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Almost 100%?
I'm not 100%, bless Sims. I'd also been going to Sims for a year and a half before the pandemic started.
I'm unfamiliar with Sims. Do you want
Really?
Yeah,
sure.
You want to elaborate
That's
a little
bit?
Lie. No, I swear. I mean, I know Sims the game. I love that game. I'll spend 5 hours playing Sims 3.
Okay. The Sims Foundation is mental health services for musicians and folks in the industry here in Austin.
Oh, wow.
Making therapy accessible, because it can get really expensive.
Wow.
If you're private paying, and so having been able to work through things kind of before the pandemic started and get to a place where I was able to say okay, you know what? No, this isn't working for me. We're picking who we're going to spend our time with, especially in that early few months where it was kind of like pandemic pods and stuff. I'm sorry. I know that we were spending time before this, but we can't anymore. It's not healthy for me, and it's not healthy for you, and it's just not working.
Yeah.
So all that kind of came together at the right time for me personally to be able to say what are we doing? Why is this happening? Which let me then write about those situations, and kind of unpack some of the things that I didn't want to be too on the nose with in the first record. The first record's very much relationship songs, breakup songs, why don't you love me, I love you songs kind of thing. And this record's much more introspective and looking at what it is to not need somebody else in your life.
Yeah.
And to find kind of your own strength, and to say this isn't working, and that's okay. We don't have to try to make it work.
It's actually really beautiful. I like that idea a lot. Yeah, because I mean, you kind of, it's not overdone or anything by any means, because the songs are often really cool, but the songs like you said, I love you, why don't you love me kind of songs. I mean, you do hear them pretty often, and they're some of my favorite songs, but I would love to hear more of the introspective, being okay by yourself if you need to be. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be great. Did you ever take we're jumping kind of way back here. Did you ever take any vocal lessons growing up? Or did it come naturally?
Growing up, no. I took a few lessons. I didn't make the honors choir in my school.
Was that a hit to the...
A little bit.
Yeah, hit to the pride?
A little bit. It's okay though. So I didn't have that. We weren't really a big church family, so there wasn't a lot of singing in church. It was just all kind of on your own at home. Since then, I've definitely gone back and tried to catch up on some technique things and how to be safer.
Oh, without blowing a vocal cord? Is that the proper way to say it? Can you blow a vocal cord?
Sure, why not?
Okay, just making sure.
Just to get the strength and the conditioning and that kind of thing that I didn't learn how to sing properly. I just did it. And
Yeah. What
sometimes
about?
it's good, sometimes bad.
Yeah, of course. What about guitar lessons?
Same deal. I've definitely taken some catch-up lessons to learn different things, shore up techniques. Still have so much to learn. There's so many great players in this town.
Yeah.
And I look at it more as a tool to use to get the songs out than necessarily like a thing I want to do and be amazing at.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, every time you learn a new chord or a new trick or a new way to pick, like, you open something up. You get another paintbrush.
Yeah. So when it comes to practicing, or I guess just playing at this point, when it comes to playing guitar, are you playing every day, or is it?
I try to. Yeah. I try to do at least something musical every day. It doesn't always happen. Whether it be playing or running through a new song, learning a new cover, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything I do in the same day that I did the day before, like every single day, which is probably, I should work on it, But it's also like a lot of musicians, they kind of, like, that's like a characteristic of a lot of musicians where they're just like doing a different thing every day. Yeah. And it's kind of like you have to if you want to, like, be an authentic musician.
I think you need a balance. You need to go out and experience life so you have something to write about. If you're just in your room playing guitar for 16 hours a day, like, you're not experiencing all the other things, but you also still need to practice. So it's like finding, okay, so like I have to do X number of hours at my day job, and I have to do these numbers of things for, booking gigs and promoting gigs and all that stuff. But I also want to learn this new song and write a new song. And I've gotten really good at like booking co-writes with friends. And if nothing else, that makes us sit down. It makes me sit down and think about, how is a song going to come together in the next 2 hours? Right.
So, jump into performances. Do you remember your first time performing in front of people? I saw the tents. Up. You didn't like throw up on stage or something out of nerves, right?
No.
Then it was a success.
No. I'm not sure.
As long as you're not like really falling apart, I think it's a success.
Okay.
The first time I was on stage, I had a pretty strong panic attack, led to a mental breakdown. And I was trying to do comedy, and I watched more than one person in the crowd literally facepalm and look down. So, was it better than that, maybe?
I don't know. Not counting like high school talent shows, because that's kind of a different.
Right.
Overly
You're
supportive.
out in the world on your own, on a stage.
It was an open mic in college, and I got real excited about it. I was going to go, I learned Patty Griffin's Every Little Bit. I was going to go play that song, All My Heart, and I did not read the flyer for the open mic very well, and I discovered upon arriving that it was a Christian rap open mic. But I was there, and I had my guitar.
So you did it anyway.
And I am stubborn, and I did it anyway. I did not have electronics on this guitar. I did not know that was a thing I should have thought about before I got there, and was like, oh, this is awkward. So awkward. Anyway.
That's awesome.
It took a while.
The way I like to think about it is if, like, your first ever performance in anything, not even just music, but if the first performance is like really, really terrible, then you can only go up from there.
Exactly.
So the second one I imagine was, probably read the flyer on that one.
Yeah. I went to the open mic first to check it out the week before, make sure it was going to be a
solid scene for you.
Yeah. I knew how to plug in my guitar.
Nice.
Helped a lot.
All the preparation.
Yeah.
That's good. And how often do you find yourself performing now? Maybe pre-COVID, if that's been like a huge stick in the...
pre-COVID, a couple times a week. It's kind of all over the place right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you miss it being regularly a couple times a week?
Yes and no. I like having a little bit more space. Work on new songs. Work on kind of doing other stuff that's related.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Thank you. I think probably switch gears here a little bit, do some this or that questions. So, gas-powered car or electric?
My first car that I got to pick was a hybrid, so I'd say electric.
Electric. Would you want the Tesla or some other brand?
as the former president of the Student for Sensible Sustainable Energy, I really want something that's got like a universal plug.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there yet. It's a shame.
So neither.
Neither.
Okay. Steel string or classical?
Steel string.
Okay. You're building a house. You're gonna have hardwood floors or carpet?
Hardwood floors.
Everybody says that.
Nobody
It
wants
makes
carpet.
sense. Yeah, I mean, maybe like
97
one
too.
room with carpet, right? I mean,
That's
for
true.
musicians,
Okay. I would totally take a sunken living room with shag carpet.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Let's see what else. Boots or tennis shoes?
Boots.
Classic. Would you rather walk out the door comfortable or walk out the door in style?
I don't see what you have to pick.
Okay. Perfect. Can you be stylish and comfortable at the same
yeah.
time? Really?
All the time.
I'm still learning a lot. I've never once been like, oh, I'm looking so good, but also so comfy. You know?
You got to find like your style, and when you find it and it fits you, you may not be like on trend or
Yeah, I'll get there one day.
perfectly stylish compared to like Instagram bloggers or whatever, but you can be stylish
Never.
and comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Okay. Have you ever been on TikTok?
Oh yeah.
You like TikTok?
Oh yeah.
Does it take up a lot of your time?
I maybe had to put a timer on it.
I think we all got there at some point in the lockdowns where we're like, okay, too much TikTok, I gotta put a timer on it. I knew I got there too.
When it started attacking me, I was like, okay, right.
The algorithm's just too
Right?
good. It's way too good.
Yeah, so
Would you rather play a large venue or a small one?
depends.
On.
Small one that's fully packed and everybody really wants to be there, or a large venue.
Yeah, small one, really packed, everyone wants to be there. Large venue, you're opening for maybe someone who's like has more fans there.
I'd say small venue.
Yeah.
You know, large venues are great, and it's always nice to have the opportunity to like wow somebody and make a couple new fans.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot that goes with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mountains or beach?
Mountains, but on a river.
Nice. Get a little bit of both. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on so much.
Yeah,
This is actually a
thanks
lot
for
of
having
fun.
me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good time. I think I would love to hear you play something real quick if you do have the time.
Absolutely.
Sweet, let's do it.
Watch clouds rolling, I watch the fire burn out. Lines drawn in the sand, get swept away by doubt. There's nothing left to give, it's all so intertwined. Carved your name into a tree in a place you'll never find. I'm so tired of running, I'm so tired of being afraid. Things that I was scared of when you turned out the light. It's a different kind of monster out tonight. Try to make myself small enough to fit inside your world, slicing bits of flesh to bone till all but disappeared. Then I was ashamed of the damage you had done, so I wrapped my scars in gossamer till you couldn't see the blood. I'm so tired of running, I'm so tired of being afraid. The things that I was scared of, you turned out the light. It's a different kind of monster out tonight. I didn't know what to say to you on the night your mother died. The taste of copper in my mouth, biting on my pride. It's too late to know now if it was just a souvenir. I kept holding on out of love, out of fear. I'm so tired I'm so tired of being afraid. Things that I was scared of, you turned out the light. A different kind of monster I